Hello and welcome to Firearm Freedom. This is going to be another upgrades video. In today's upgrades video, we are taking a look once again at the Kimber Custom TLE RL2. And before we get this video started, I wanted to give a quick shout out to this video's sponsor, which is Locks & Company. They make a wide variety of men's and women's grooming products that are pretty freaking awesome. I've been using their War Daddy Wax pomade now for about a year, and that stuff is incredible. It holds at the range, in the rain, any situation that holds strong, and I really like it. They also have a wide variety of body washes and deodorants and other things. It smells great, made of natural stuff, and you're supporting a US and also Pennsylvania-based company. Better yet, if you guys type in the discount code section Firearm Freedom 10, that gets you 10% off of your order, and I greatly appreciate your support. Well, the Kimber is back on the table once again. This is not only going to be a very small upgrades video, but primarily an update video on how this gun is performing. What have I changed in it? How many more rounds do I have through it? So I made the decision to get a Wolf extra power 20-pound recoil spring for this. So I swapped that out pretty much immediately upon bringing it home from the range. The other upgrades that I made to it, of course, down here at the bottom, we have a Streamlight TLR1. Yes, a Surefire X300 Ultra would look a lot better on this gun. So that may be something that I'm going to do in the future. We will see. But I did want to get this Streamlight because, as I mentioned in my para-ordnance video, it's a lot easier for me to outfit every gun with a TLR1 and not have to switch it from gun to gun than it is an X300. Another reason why I got the TLR1 is because of this holster here. This is a QVO Tactical secondary holster that I was running on a Safariland QLS system on a mid-ride, and it is phenomenal. Real quick, just shout out to Roger at QVO Tactical. He's always helping out the channel, and I seriously appreciate it. But check out the build quality of this holster and the fit for a light compatible 1911 holster. Oof. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. It is just no movement, maybe a little bit there if I really try to wrench it out, but I mean, the fit of this holster is phenomenal. And on the belt, it's incredible. So they didn't pay me or anything like that. They just sent this holster out to the channel, and I seriously appreciate it. They make awesome stuff, and I loved running this setup. And that's why I really don't mind the TLR1. It works great in that holster. You guys will also see me running the Tyon Grenadier 45 suppressor on here. This is a titanium suppressor, and it was running great on this 1911. But the other reason why I wanted to get this Kimber back to the range was to run it suppressed. I was so interested in the RL2 and getting it home because of this factory threaded barrel and factory tritium suppressor height sights. This is something that generally has to be fitted on a 1911, so seeing it having both of these things from the factory was appealing. With all those upgrades in mind, how is the Kimber performing? I shot about 250 more rounds through this gun at the range, including some critical duty hollow points. Once again, thank you, Spencer, for the ammo on this one. He's a viewer of the channel, and without this ammo for this review, it would not have been possible anytime soon. So that seriously helped me out. And when we are looking at the overall range today, that 250 rounds, drum roll, it had 5 failures to feed. So it was maybe a little bit better, but overall reliability, it's okay. It's not. It definitely had less malfunctions than the first range day, and none of those malfunctions were the slide prematurely locking to the rear when I did not want it to. So that is good, I guess. And also, none of those issues were any sort of failures to eject that we were experiencing before. They were all failures to feed. About half of those 5 failures to feed were with the Wilson Combat 10-round magazines. Now, I do know that there are some 1911s out there that just do not like these 10-rounders for whatever reason. All of my other 1911s run those 10-rounders just fine, but in this case, the Kimber may just really not like those 10 rounders. On a lot of the other magazines that we were using, which was a bunch, I had a wide variety of magazines at the range. Most of them ran just fine. And surprisingly, when it came to feeding the critical duty hollow points, this did great. I don't know that I had a single failure to feed with the critical duty hollow points, so that's a huge plus. And I think maybe the gun is slowly working through these kinks here and is possibly going to start being okay. We will see. We're going to continue to work on this Kimber and see if we can get it to be a more reliable 1911. Immediately, the first thing that I noticed was that extra power 20-pound recoil spring. And that, full disclosure, could also be the reasons for the failures to feed. The spring is just breaking in, etc. So I'm not writing that off either. That may very well be why we had those issues. But I have to say, the shootability, the way that the gun recoiled was night and day difference with that 20-pound recoil spring. It was phenomenal. In fact, I would say that if you have a factory new full-size Kimber 1911, just go ahead and immediately switch the recoil spring out. It doesn't have to be for an extra power, but just switch it out to a Wolf recoil spring or another higher quality recoil spring, because that is the one thing about these guns. The Kimber factory recoil springs are absolute trash. I shoot a lot of 1911s. You guys know that with how many reviews are on the channel, and this was by far my punchiest 1911 out of the box, and that's just because the recoil spring was not properly set up with the poundage, and in my opinion, that would be why the manual says you need to switch out these recoil springs every 1,500 rounds, which is incredibly low compared to other guns that are on the market. The 20-round Wolf recoil spring, although may have added to some failures to feed, seriously helped the shootability of the pistol. The recoil was much more pleasant, and it felt about exactly the same as all of my other 1911s in the collection as far as recoil, and that is right where I wanted to be. So we're definitely getting somewhere in that department. There's something a little bit strange about this beaver tail, and I don't know exactly what it is. It may be just the overall profile, and the fitment is okay. It could be a lot better. It still has, you know, a little bit of a gap there. It's not the end of the world. But when it comes to comfort, I do wish they kind of flared it out a little bit more. It almost seems like it's a little too stubby and a little too pointy. Now, I'm kind of nitpicking here, but when it comes to the shootability, that's definitely something that I notice. When you pick up this 1911, I notice it kind of rubbing into my knuckle on my thumb there just a little bit more than other 1911s in the collection. I don't know if that's really a huge deal. That's probably just me. I am gripping the pistol properly as I normally would, but I do notice it. So that's something that, again, in the future, I think Kimber should kind of just reassess this beaver tail here and maybe just make it a little bit better in the fitment side of things, because I think that would also aid in the shootability of the gun. Of course, still loving the front strap checkering. That's incredible on any 1911 that has that. Now, I know what many of you are probably wondering, which is how did the gun run suppressed? Well, as far as noise, it was incredibly quiet. I have rather sensitive ears after just trying to preserve my hearing as much as I possibly can. And I get, definitely I start to feel the noise a lot more than other people, and I generally am wearing hearing protection a lot of the times that I'm shooting suppressed. With the Kimber in 45 ACP and the Grenadier Suppressor, I had no need to wear hearing protection at all the entire range day, which was really impressive to me. Very, very quiet, and I did not feel any massively increased recoil with shooting the gun suppressed, which is a huge plus, and that is all due to that 20-pound extra power spring in there. And I was still getting the occasional maybe 1 or 2 failures to feed throughout the entire range day with the suppressor, as I was without. So again, we may start to see those go away as that recoil spring breaks in a little bit and gets a little bit better with the gun overall. But as far as how the gun ran suppressed and noise, it ran pretty damn good. Now, the only thing that this maybe doesn't shine in when it comes to shooting suppressed is the amount of crap flying out the back of the slide. Now, this is not the fault of Kimber. It's just what you're going to run into when you run really any hammer-fired gun suppressed, but especially 1911s. It is what it is. And every single freaking time I pulled that trigger, it was like somebody was spitting in my face a bunch of carbon and debris. And I have really good Oakley eye protection on. It really dips down and touches the tops of your cheeks and everything like that. And it was still throwing stuff just in my eyes. It was not the most comfortable to shoot in that department. So as quiet as the gun was, it kind of made it not the best with just how much backblast of crap is coming back your way. So that's something to think about whenever you're running a 1911 suppress, whether it's this gun or anything else. They are very quiet, but you're going to run into that stuff. And the gun wasn't overly lubricated or anything like that. And we were also shooting brass-cased ammunition. But this range day, I was much more pleasantly surprised with how the Kimber shot. As far as fast follow-up shots, that was another thing I noticed with that recoil spring that I was complaining about in the first range day, is I just couldn't get rounds on target quickly because it was so punchy and it didn't want to just return back to my sight picture as fast as my other 1911s would. That was a completely different story with this gun as it sits now with that upgraded spring. It shot much better. I was able to shoot it much faster, and target transitions were excellent. I think we are moving in the right direction with this Kimber. We did have some failures, but I'm really either going to it not liking the magazines or that spring is breaking in. Either of those things are causing those failures to feed, and I think as we move along the shooting path of this Kimber, it is probably going to get better as time goes on. One of the final points I want to make is that the grip screws once again walked completely loose to the point where they were almost falling out. Super annoying, so I got those really Loctited up in there, and hopefully that's going to hold in the next range day. That's going to wrap this review up. It's a little bit of a shorter one, but there's not too much to say about the Kimber. My emotion is going from all the way down here to slowly going up a little bit. So we'll see if my opinions completely change with the Kimber. A lot of what you guys said in the comment section, and I completely agree with this, is I never expected to buy a Kimber and not have to tweak it a little bit. So that is the case with this one. I still hate Kimber as a company, to be completely honest with you and transparent. Not one of my favorites at all, and for the most part, I don't know that I would recommend their guns, but I am excited to see this gun heading in the right direction. If you guys have any other questions about this pistol or anything else on the channel, please throw them down below in the comment section. You guys know I absolutely will get back to you. While you're down there, head up to that description to support the channel, and as always, stay tuned for more great videos coming soon.